Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Narayan, unto Narayana Rishi, the Supremest Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shringatam Swakata Krishna.
Shringatam Swakata Krishna.
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha.
Punyan Kirtanaha.
Vidyantasto Vibhadrani.
Vidyantasto Vibhadrani.
Vidunoti Sukritsatam.
Vidunoti Sukritsatam.
Shri Krishna, the personality of God, who is the Paramatma super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta Preya Bhadreshu.
Nashta Preya Bhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhakti Bhavati Nishtiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Nishtiki.
By regular attendance and classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. We're not going to.
Not today.
It's almost completely destroyed in loving service unto the personality of God, who is praised with transcendental songs as established as an irrevocable effect. Sorry about that. So today is the appearance day of Lord Vamana Day. So I want to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto, that story. Actually, it's 5 chapters, so I don't know how fast they'll go. Really good story.
Could you explain who Vamana Deva is to those?
Yeah, Vamana Deva is the dwarf incarnation, a dwarf Brahmana. And beautifully proportioned, sometimes the word dwarf is used for that kind of like short, stubby kind of proportion, but wasn't like that. I think more might be, what's the other word? Not dwarf, but other kind of small people.
Not midget.
Midget.
That's it.
Yeah, midget. One of them is perfectly proportioned but small, and one of them is stubby proportioned. So he was not stubby proportioned anyways. So we're going to read from there. But it's also the appearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami, so I'll just briefly mention. He's one of the 6 Goswamis, which are direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya. There were 3 brothers, Sanatan, Sanatan, Rupa, and Vallabha. So, only says, Amongst the three, there was only one descendant, Shujiva. Somehow they neglect to mention who was the father, but because I know it was not, he was the nephew of Rupa and Sanatan, so Bhagavatam. I think Bhagavatam is also sometimes called a Nutama. Because that's how I think of him. Anyways, so I didn't really study this because I didn't read the fine print and see that it was Jiva Goswami, so I just saw that it was Bhagavatam's appearance today. So I'm not so prepared, but he did extensive philosophical writings that form the basis of a good portion of the basis of our philosophy and how Prabhupada taught us. So he wrote the 6 Sangarbhas, among many others that are treatises on the philosophy. So anyway, I'll go from there to the story of Lord Vamana, the dwarf incarnation. The setting is that the demon king Bali Maharaj, who is actually a devotee at heart, is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. But he's in the family of the demons, and he's king of the demons, and somehow they have taken over the universe from the demigods. And so demigods were pleading for help and praying to Lord Vishnu. And so he came, and it starts with 8:18. His appearance starts with 1, but it's a very detailed description. Let me look this and see how it goes. I don't know if I should read the details of this or get to the story quicker. It's nice to have an image in your mind. Okay, start with 18:1. Shukadeva Goswami said, after Lord Brahma had thus spoken, glorifying the Supreme Lord's activities and prowess, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never subject to death like an ordinary living being, appeared from the womb of Aditi. His 4 hands were decorated with a conch shell, club, lotus, and disc. He was dressed in yellow garments, and his eyes appeared like the petals of a blooming lotus. The body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, blackish in complexion, was free from all inebrities. His lotus face, decorated with earrings resembling sharks, appeared very beautiful. And on his bosom was the mark of Srivatsa. He wore bangles on his wrists, armlets on his belts, a helmet on his head, a belt on his waist, a sacred thread across his chest, and ankle bells decorating his lotus feet. An uncommonly beautiful garland of flowers decorated his bosom, and because the flowers were extremely fragrant, a large group of bees, making their natural humming sounds, invaded them for honey. When the Lord appeared, wearing the Kaustuba gem on his neck, his effulgence vanquished the darkness in the home of Prajapati Kashyapa. At that time, there was happiness in all directions, in the reservoirs of water, like the rivers and oceans, and in the core of everyone's heart. The various seasons displayed their respective qualities, and all living entities in the upper planetary system, in outer space, and on the surface of the earth were jubilant. The demigods, the cows, the brahmanas, and the hills and mountains were all filled with joy. On the day of Shravana Dwadashi, this is Dwadashi, right? The 12th day of the bright fortnight of the month of Bhadra, when the moon came into the lunar mansion Shravana, at the auspicious moment of Abhijit, the Lord appeared in this universe. Considering the Lord's appearance very auspicious, all the stars and planets, from the sun to Saturn, were munificently charitable. O King, when the Lord appeared on Dwadashi, the 12th day of the moon, the sun was at the meridian, as every learned scholar knows. This Dwadashi is called Vijaya. Conch shells, kettle drums, panavas, and anakas vibrated in concert. The sound of these and various other instruments was tumultuous. Being very pleased, the celestial dancing girls, apsaras, danced in jubilation. The best of the Gandharvas sang songs, and the great sages, demigods, manus, pitas, and fire gods offered prayers to satisfy the Lord. The siddhas, vidyadharas, kimpurushas, kinnaras, charanas, yakshas, rakshasas, suparnas, the best of serpents, and the followers of the demigods, all showered flowers on Aditi's residence, covering the entire house, while dancing and praising the Lord, and glorifying and praising the Lord and dancing. When Aditi saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had appeared from her own womb, having accepted a transcendental body by his own spiritual potency, she was struck with wonder and was very happy. Upon seeing the child, Prajapati Kashyapa exclaimed, "Jai, Jai," in great happiness and wonder. The Lord appeared in his original form, with ornaments and weapons in his hands. Although this ever-existing form is not visible in the material world, he nonetheless appeared in this form. Then, in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Vamana, a Brahmana dwarf, a brahmachari, just like a theatrical actor. It's just like he appeared as Krishna himself. He first was Lord Vishnu, and then he turned into a normal baby. When the great sages saw the Lord as the brahmachari dwarf Vamana, they were certainly very pleased. Thus they placed before them Kashyapa Muni, the Prajapati, and performed all the ritualistic ceremonies, such as the birthday ceremony. I don't know what that means. They placed before him Kashyapa Muni. Who's the father? I don't know what. I guess if you know about these sacrifices, you know what that means. At the sacred thread ceremony of Vamana Day, the sun god personally uttered the Gayatri mantra. Brihaspati offered the sacred thread, and Kashyapa Muni offered a straw belt. Mother Earth gave him a deerskin, and the demigod of the moon, who was the king of the forest, gave him a Brahma Danda, the rod of a brahmachari. His mother Aditi gave him cloth for underwear, and the deity presiding over the heavenly kingdom offered him an umbrella. O king, Lord Brahma offered a water pot to the inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead. The 7 sages offered him kusha grass, and Mother Saraswati gave him a string of Rudraksha leaves. When Vamana Dev had thus been given the sacred thread, Kubera, king of the Yakshas, gave him a pot for begging alms, and Mother Bhagavati, the wife of Lord Shiva and most chaste mother of the entire universe, gave him his first alms. Interesting, they gave him, their gifts were simple, important gifts, so what else can you give them? Toys, no books. No. So they gave him the essential things to set him up. They were really special. Simple gifts, but very special because they're from the demigods for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Having thus been welcomed by everyone, Lord Vamanadev, the best of the brahmacharis, exhibited his Brahman effulgence. Thus he surpassed in beauty that entire assembly, which was filled with great saintly brahmanas. After Lord Sri Vamanadev set a sacrificial fire, he offered worship and performed a fire sacrifice on the sacrificial field. It's interesting. So immediately Vamanadev has set a sacrificial fire and performed a fire sacrifice. So when the Lord heard that Bali Maharaj was performing Ashvamedha sacrifices under the patronage of Brahmanas belonging to the Bhrigu dynasty, the Supreme Lord, who was full in every respect, proceeded there to show his mercy to Bali Maharaj. By his weight, he pushed down the earth with every step. While engaged in performing the sacrifice in the field known as Bhrigu Kacha, on the northern bank of the Narmada River, the Brahminical priests, the descendants of Bhrigu, saw Vamanadev to be like the sun rising nearby. O king, because of Vamanadev's bright effulgence, the priests, along with Bali Maharaj and all the members of the assembly, were robbed of their splendor. Thus they began to ask one another whether the sun god himself, Sanat Kumara, or the fire god, had personally come to see the sacrificial ceremony. While the priests of the Bhrigu dynasty and their disciples talked and argued in various ways, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vamanadev, holding in his hands the rod, the umbrella, and a water pot full of water, entered the arena of the Ashvamedha sacrifice. Appearing as a Brahmana boy, wearing a belt of straw, a sacred thread, an upper garment of deerskin, and matted locks of hair, Lord Vamanadev entered the arena of sacrifice. His brilliant effulgence diminished the brilliance of all the priests and their disciples, who thus stood from their seats and welcomed the Lord properly by offering obeisances. Bali Maharaj, jubilant at seeing Lord Vamanadev, whose beautiful limbs contributed equally to the beauty of his entire body, offered him a seat with great satisfaction. Thus offering a proper reception to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always beautiful to the liberated souls, Bali Maharaj worshipped him by washing his lotus feet. Lord Shiva, the best of demigods, who carried on his forehead the emblem of the moon, receives on his head with great devotion the Ganges water emanating from the toe of Vishnu. Being aware of religious principles, Bali Maharaj knew this. Consequently, following in the footsteps of Lord Shiva, he also placed on his head the water that had washed the Lord's lotus feet. He's the Lord himself. Oh, Bali Maharaj did this. In my mind I got mixed up. So Bali Maharaj was bathing, before anything else happened, before the whole offering of 3 steps of land and all that. First they bathed his feet, and so Bali Maharaj put that water in his head. Bali Maharaj then said to Lord Vamanadev, O Brahmana, I offer you my hearty welcome and my respectful obeisances. Please let us know what we may do for you. We think of you as a personified austerity of the great Brahmana sages. O my Lord, because you have kindly arrived at our home, all my forefathers are satisfied. My family and the entire dynasty have been sanctified, and the sacrifice we are now performing is now complete because of your presence. O son of a Brahmana, today the fire of sacrifice is ablaze, according to the injunction of the Shastra, and I have been freed from all the sinful reactions of my life by the water that has washed your lotus feet. O my Lord, by the touch of your small lotus feet, the entire surface of the world has been sanctified. O son of a Brahmana, it appears that you have come here to ask me for something. Therefore, whatever you want, you may take from me. O best of those who are worshipable, you may take from me a cow, gold, a furnished house, palatable food and drink, the daughter of a Brahmana for your wife, prosperous villages, horses, elephants, chariots, or whatever you desire. Next chapter, 19. Shukadeva Goswami continued. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vamanadeva, heard Bali Maharaj speaking in this pleasing way, he was very satisfied. For Bali Maharaj had spoken in terms of religious principles. Thus the Lord began to praise him. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O King, you are indeed exalted because your present advisors are the Brahmanas who are descendants of Rigu, and because your instructor for your future life is your grandfather, the peaceful and venerable Prahlad Maharaj. Your statements are very true, and they completely agree with religious etiquette. They are in keeping with the behavior of your family, and they enhance your reputation. I know that even until now, no one taking birth in your family has been poor-minded or miserly. No one has refused to give charity to Brahmanas, nor after promising to give charity has anyone failed to fulfill his promise. Even the demons knew that, how to be there. They might not have, some of them might not have wanted to worship Lord Vishnu, but they knew the culture very well and did very well. O King Bali, never in your dynasty has the low-minded king been born who, upon being requested, has refused charity to Brahmanas in holy places or a fight to Kshatriyas on a battlefield. And your dynasty is even more glorious due to the presence of Prahlad Maharaj, who is like the beautiful moon in the sky. It was in your dynasty that Hiranyaksha was born. Carrying only his own club, he wandered the globe alone without assistance to conquer all directions, and no hero he met could rival him. When delivering the earth from the Garbhodak sea, Lord Vishnu, in his incarnation as a boar, killed Hiranyaksha, who had appeared before him. The fight was severe, and the Lord killed Hiranyaksha with great difficulty. Of course, that was past time that he's speaking in this moment. Hiranyaksha killed Hiranyaksha with great difficulty. Later, as the Lord thought about the uncommon prowess of Hiranyaksha, he felt himself victorious indeed. When Hiranyakashipu heard the news of his brothers being killed, with great anger he went to the residence of Vishnu, the killer of his brother, wanting to kill Lord Vishnu. Another pastime here. Seeing Hiranyakashipu coming forward bearing a trident in his hand like personified death, Lord Vishnu, the best of all mystics and the knower of the progress of time, thought as follows. Wheresoever I go, Hiranyakashipu will follow me, as death follows all living entities. Of course, death is not following Lord Vishnu, and Hiranyakashipu cannot kill him, but this is a pastime for Lord Vishnu because he's leading to the next pastime. So he says, therefore it is better for me to enter the court of his heart, for then because of his power to see only externally, he will not see me. Lord Vamanadeva continued, O king of the demons, after Lord Vishnu made this decision, he entered the body of his enemy Hiranyakashipu, who was running after him with great force. In a subtle body inconceivable to Hiranyakashipu, Lord Vishnu, who was in great anxiety, entered Hiranyakashipu's nostril along with his breath. Upon seeing that the residence of Lord Vishnu was vacant, Hiranyakashipu began searching for Lord Vishnu everywhere. Angry at not seeing him, Hiranyakashipu screamed loudly and searched the entire universe, including the surface of the earth, the higher planetary systems, all directions, and all the caves and oceans. But Hiranyakashipu, the greatest hero, did not see Vishnu anywhere. Unable to see him, Hiranyakashipu said, I have searched the entire universe, but I could not find Vishnu who has killed my brother. Therefore, he must certainly have gone to that place from which no one returns. In other words, he must now be dead. Hiranyakashipu's anger against Lord Vishnu persisted until his death. Other people in the bodily conception of life maintain anger only because of false ego and the great influence of ignorance. Your father, Virochana, the son of Maharaj Prahlad, was very affectionate toward Brahmanas. Although he knew very well that it was the demigods who had come to him in the dress of brahmanas. At their request, he delivered to them the duration of his life. You also have observed the principles followed by great personalities who are householder brahmanas, by your forefathers, and by great heroes who are extremely famous for their exalted activities. O King of the Daityas, from your majesty, who came from such a noble family, and who are able to give charity munificently, I ask only 3 paces of land to the measurement of my steps. O King, controller of the entire universe, although you are very munificent and are able to give me as much land as I want, I do not want anything from you that is unnecessary. If a learned Brahmana takes charity from others, only according to his needs, he does not become entangled in sinful activities. Bali Maharaj said, O son of a Brahmana, your instructions are as good as those of learned and elderly persons. Nevertheless, you are a boy. You are a boy, and your intelligence is insufficient. Thus, you are not very prudent in regard to your self-interest. It's very interesting that Bali Maharaj is, on one hand, like worshiping him, and on the other hand, saying, you're just a little boy, you don't really understand these things. So I am able to give you an entire island, because I am the proprietor of the 3 divisions of the universe. I am the proprietor. You have come to take something from me and have pleased me by your sweet words, but you are asking only 3 paces of land. Therefore you are not very intelligent. O small boy, one who approaches me to beg something should not have to ask anything more anywhere. Therefore, if you wish, you may ask for me as much land as will suffice to maintain you according to your needs. The personality of Godhead said, O my dear king, even the entirety of whatever they may be within the 3 worlds to satisfy one's senses cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled. If I were not satisfied with 3 paces of land, then surely I would not be satisfied even with possessing one of the 7 islands, consisting of 9 Varshyas. Even if I possessed 1 island, I would hope to get others. We have heard that although powerful kings like Maharaj Prithu and Maharaj Daya achieved proprietorship over the 7 dvivas, they could not achieve satisfaction or find the end of their ambitions. One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny, for discontent can never bring happiness. A person who is not self-controlled will not be happy even with possessing the 3 worlds. Material existence causes discontent in regard to fulfilling one's lusty desires and achieving more and more money. This is the cause for the continuation of material life, which is full of repeated birth and death. But one who is satisfied by that which is obtained by destiny is fit for liberation from this material existence. The Brahmana who is satisfied with whatever is providentially obtained is increasingly enlightened with spiritual power. But the spiritual potency of a dissatisfied Brahmana decreases as fire diminishes in potency when water is sprinkled upon it. Therefore, O king, from you, the best of those who give charity, I ask only 3 paces of land. By such a gift I shall be very pleased, for the way of happiness is to be fully satisfied to receive that which is absolutely needed. So it's very interesting. There's lessons all along the way, but of course he's being a little duplicitous here because his 3 paces are not going to be what Bali Maharaj is now picturing. So, but still it's lessons for us, even at this point. Shukadeva Goswami continued, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead had thus spoken to Bali Maharaj, Bali smiled and told him, all right, take whatever you like. To confirm his promise to give Vamanadev the desired land, he then took up his water pot. Understanding Lord Vishnu's purpose, Sukracharya, the best of the learned, immediately spoke as follows to his disciple, who was about to offer everything to Lord Vamanadev. Sukracharya said, O son of Virochana, this brahmachari in the form of a dwarf is directly the imperishable Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Accepting Kashyapa Muni as his father and Aditi as his mother, he has now appeared in order to fulfill the interests of the demigods. You do not know what a dangerous position you have accepted by promising to give him land. I do not think that this promise is good for you. It will bring great harm to the demons. This person, falsely appearing as a brahmachari, is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, who has come in this form to take away all your land, wealth, beauty, power, fame, and education. After taking everything from you, we will deliver it to Indra, your enemy. You have promised to give him 3 steps of land and charity, but when you give it, you will occupy the 3 worlds. You are a rascal. You do not know what a great mistake you have made. After giving everything to Lord Vishnu, you will have no means of livelihood. How then shall you live? Vamanadeva will first occupy the 3 worlds with 1 step. Then he will take his 2nd step and occupy everything in outer space. And then he will expand his universal body to occupy everything. Where will you offer him your 3rd step? It's very interesting that Shukracharya exactly predicted. He knew exactly what was going to happen. He was still recommending against. You will certainly be unable to fulfill your promise. And I think that because of this inability, your eternal residence will be in hell. That's the problem with the demons. They may understand philosophy thoroughly. They may not understand Vedic culture thoroughly. But then when it comes down to worshiping Vishnu or having faith in Vishnu, that's where they show themselves as demons. Therefore, are you hearing this?
No.
How about this?
No.
Can't touch it. Is it still? Can you hear it?
No. You need to plug it in from the...
I'll do it.
Let me say this for a second. It sounds like learned scholars do not praise that charity which endangers one's own livelihood. Charity, sacrifice, austerity, and fruitive activities are possible for one who is competent to earn his livelihood properly. They are not possible for one who cannot maintain himself. So these are practical instructions for daily life, for us too. That these are good practical instructions to follow. That we give what we can according to. So there's nothing wrong with these instructions. Very interesting. Therefore, one who is in full knowledge should divide his accumulated wealth in 5 parts. What's a good materialist will do this? For religion, for reputation, for opulence, for sense gratification, and for the maintenance of his family members. Such a person is happy in this world and in the next. One might argue that since you have already promised, how can you refuse? Oh, best of the demons, just take it from me, the evidence of the Bhagavatam, Shruti, which says that a promise is truthful, preceded by the word Om, and untruthful if not. Tricky technique. So the Vedas enjoin that the factual result of the tree of the body is the good fruits and flowers derived from it. But if the bodily tree does not exist, there's no possibility of factual fruits and flowers. Even if the body is based on untruth, there cannot be factual fruits and flowers without the help of the bodily tree. When a tree is uprooted, it immediately falls down and begins to dry up. Similarly, if one doesn't take care of the body, which is supposed to be untruth, in other words, if the untruth is uprooted, the body undoubtedly becomes dry. The utterance of the word Om signifies separation from one's monetary assets. In other words, by uttering this word, one becomes free from attachment to money, because his money is taken away from him. To be without money is not very satisfactory, for in that position one cannot fulfill one's desires. In other words, by using the word Om, one becomes poverty-stricken, especially when one gives charity to a poor man or beggar. One remains unfulfilled in self-realization and in sense gratification. This is the wise but wrong advice of the materialistic guru. Therefore, the safe course is to say no. Although it is a falsehood, it protects one completely. It draws the compassion of others toward oneself, and it gives one full facility to collect money from others for oneself. Nonetheless, if one always pleads that he has nothing, he is condemned. Or he is a dead body while living, or while still breathing, he should be killed. I don't know. I think that Shukracharya is covering all bases. He's going back and forth here or something.
Trying.
Huh?
It's trying.
He's trying to cover all bases. Seems confused, actually. In flattering a woman to bring her under control, in joking, in a marriage ceremony, in earning one's livelihood, when one's life is in danger, in protecting cows in political culture, or in protecting a person from an enemy's hand, falsity is never condemned. Interesting that the marriage ceremony is in there. Okay, so next chapter, 820. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, when Bali Maharaj was thus advised by his spiritual master Shukracharya, his family priest, he remained silent for some time. And then, after full deliberation, he replied to his spiritual master as follows. Bali Maharaj said, as you have already stated, the principle of religion that does not hinder one's economic development, sense gratification, fame, and means of livelihood is the real occupational duty of the household. I also think that this religious principle is correct. I am the grandson of Maharaj Prahlad. How can I withdraw my promise because of greed for money when I've already said that I have given this land? How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially toward a Brahmana? There's nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, I can bear any heavy thing except a person who is a liar. I do not fear hell, poverty, an ocean of distress, fall down from my position, or even death itself, as much as I fear cheating a Brahmana. My Lord, you can also see that all the material opulences of this world are certainly separated from their possessor at death. Therefore, if the Brahmana Day is not satisfied by whatever gifts one is given, why not please him with the riches one is destined to lose at death? Dadichi, Shili, and many other great personalities were willing to sacrifice even their lives for the benefit of the people in general. This is the evidence of history. So why not give up this insignificant land? What is the serious consideration against it? O best of the Brahmanas, certainly the great demoniac kings, who were never reluctant to fight, enjoyed this world. But in due course of time, everything they had was taken away, except their reputation by which they continue to exist. In other words, one should try to achieve a good reputation instead of anything else. O best of the Brahmanas, many men have laid down their lives on the battlefield, being unafraid of fighting, but rarely has one gotten the chance to give his accumulated wealth faithfully to a saintly person who creates holy places. By giving charity, a benevolent and merciful person undoubtedly becomes even more auspicious, especially when he gives charity to a person like himself. Under the circumstances, I must give this little brahmachari whatever charity he wants from me. O great sage, great saintly persons like you, being completely aware of the Vedic principles for performing ritualistic ceremonies and yajnas, worship Lord Vishnu in all circumstances. Therefore, whether that same Lord Vishnu has come here to give me all benedictions or to punish me as an enemy, I must carry out his order and give him the requested tract of land without hesitation. Although he is Vishnu himself, out of fear he has covered himself in the form of a Brahmana to come to me begging. Under the circumstances, because he has assumed the form of a Brahmana, even if he irreligiously arrests me or even kills me, I shall not retaliate, although he is my enemy. If this Brahmana really is Lord Vishnu, who is worshipped by Vedic hymns, he would never give up his widespread reputation. Either he would lie down having been killed by me, or he would kill me in a fight. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued. Thereafter, the spiritual master Shukracharya, being inspired by the Supreme Lord, cursed his exalted disciple Bali Maharaj, who was so magnanimous and fixed in truthfulness. Then instead of respecting his spiritual master's instructions, he wanted to disobey his order. Although you have no knowledge, you have become a so-called learned person, and therefore you dare be so impudent as to disobey my order. Because of disobeying me, you shall very soon be bereft of all your opulence. Shukadeva Goswami continued. Even after being cursed in this way by his own spiritual master, Bali Maharaj, being a great personality, never deviated from his determination. Therefore, according to custom, he first offered water to Vamanadev, and then offered him the gift of land he had promised. And Bali Maharaj's wife is here. She understood him. She's like him. She's standing there knowing that possibly she could lose everything, she could become poverty-stricken. And still, she's supporting her husband's decision. Bali Maharaj's wife, known as Vindhyavali, who was decorated with a necklace of pearls, immediately came and had a large golden water pot brought there, full of water with which to worship the Lord by washing his feet. Bali Maharaj, the worshipper of Lord Vamanadev, jubilantly washed the Lord's lotus feet, and then took the water on his head, for that water delivers the entire universe. At that time, the residents of the higher planetary systems, namely the demigods, the Gandharvas, the Vidyadharas, the Siddhas, and the Charanas, all being very pleased with Bali Maharaj's simple, non-duplicitous act, praised his qualities and showered upon him millions of flowers. The Gandharvas, the Kimparushas, and the Kinnaras sounded thousands and thousands of kettle drums and trumpets again and again, and they sang in great jubilation, declaring, How exalted a person is Bali Maharaj, and what a difficult task he has performed. Even though he knew that Lord Vishnu was on the side of his enemies, he nevertheless gave the Lord the entire 3 worlds in charity. The unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had assumed the form of Vamana, then began increasing in size. I'm going to stop here for a second and talk. There was a lesson in there about guru-disciple relationships. So in the disciple course, they call on Srila Narahari Thakur's description that one should abandon a spiritual master who has become materialistic. But that sort of assumes the disciple knows how to tell. And so I suggest that here we have all we need to know. If the guru gives some materialistic instruction and the disciple feels that this is not correct, the disciple can counter with an argument based on scripture that's higher. You can do that, respectfully do that. Bali Maharaj was respectful to Shukracharya, but he gave his reason, and scripturally sound reason, and then ignored the order of the spiritual master. So you don't have to go through this whole thing, reject because you're materialistic. All you have to do is ignore that order. Give you a good reason why and ignore that order. And that's a very simple instruction, and it's right here in Prabhupada's books. So I just want to mention that. Okay, now back to the story. The unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had assumed the form of Vamana, then began increasing in size, acting in terms of material energy until everything in the universe was within his body, including the earth, the planetary systems, the sky, the directions, the various holes in the universe, the seas, the oceans, the holes in the universe, interesting. The seas, the oceans, the birds, beasts, human beings, and demigods, and the great saintly persons. Bali Maharaj, along with all the priests, acharyas, and members of the assembly, observed the Supreme Personality of Godhead's universal body, which was full of 6 opulences. That body contained everything within the universe, including all the gross material elements, the senses, the sense objects, the mind, intelligence, and false ego, the various kinds of living entities, and the actions and reactions of the 3 modes of material nature. Thereafter, Bali Maharaj, who was occupying the seat of King Indra, could see the lower planetary systems, such as Rasatala, on the soles of the feet of the Lord's universal form. He saw on the Lord's feet the surface of the globe, on the surface of his calves all the mountains, on his knees the various birds, and on his thighs the varieties of air. Bali Maharaj saw beneath the garments of the Lord, relaxed wonderfully, the evening twilight. In the Lord's private parts he saw the Prajapatis, and in the round portion of the waist he saw himself with his confidential associates. In the Lord's navel he saw the sky. On the Lord's waist he saw the 7 oceans, and on the Lord's bosom he saw all the clusters of stars. My dear king, on the heart of Lord Murari he saw religion, on the chest both pleasing words and truthfulness, in the mind the moon, on the bosom the goddess of fortune with a lotus flower in her hand, on the neck all the Vedas and all sound vibrations, on the arms all the demigods headed by Krishna, in both ears all the directions, on the head the upper planetary systems, on the hair the clouds, in the nostrils the wind, on the eyes the sun, and in the mouth fire. From his words came all the Vedic mantras. On his tongue was the demigod of water, Varunadev. On his eyebrows were the regulative principles, and on his eyelids were day and night. When his eyes were open, it was daytime, when they were closed, it was night. On his forehead was anger, and on his lips was greed. O king, in his touch were lusty desires. In his semen were all the waters. On his back was irreligion, and in his wonderful activities or steps he was the fire of sacrifice. On his shadow was death. In his smile was the illusory energy. And on the hairs of his body were all the drugs and herbs. In his veins were all the rivers. On his nails were all the stones. In his intelligence were Lord Brahma, the demigods, and the great saintly persons. And throughout his entire body and senses were all living entities, moving and stationary. Bali Maharaj thus saw everything in the gigantic body of the Lord. O king, when all the demons, the followers of Maharaj Bali, saw the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who held everything within his body, when they saw that in the Lord's hand is disc, known as the Sudarshan Chakra, which generates intolerable heat. And when they heard the tumultuous sound of his bow, all these caused lamentation within their hearts. So then I don't know if I should read, it's 8:20. Two more chapters after this, I don't know if I should skip and shorten it. Oh, well, anyways, the Lord's conch named Panchajanya, which made sounds like that of a cloud, was the very forceful cloud named Kumudaki. The sword named Vidyadhara, with a shield decorated with hundreds of moon-like spots, and also Akshaya Sayaka, the best of quivers. All these appeared together to offer prayers to the Lord. As the Lord took his second step, there's more description of what he looked like, what he was wearing. As the Lord took his second step, he discovered the heavenly planets, and not even a spot remained for the third step, for the Lord's foot extended higher and higher beyond Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and even Satyaloka. Shukadeva Goswami continued, when Lord Brahma, who was born of a lotus flower, saw the effulgence of the resonance, Brahmaloka had been reduced to by the glaring effulgence of the tonas of Lord Vamanadeva. He approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Brahma was accompanied by all the great sages, headed by Marichi, and by yogis like Sanandana. But in the presence of that glaring effulgence, O King, even Lord Brahma and his associates seemed very insignificant. There's a long verse here. Let them offer prayers and wash the feet of the Lord. They began to worship Him. They worship the Lord by offering fragrant flowers, water, fire, etc. Jambavan, the king of the bears, also joined in the ceremony. Sounding his bugle in all directions, he declared a great festival for Lord Vamadeva's victory. The demons, the demigods are still hoping that there will be victory so they win in the universe. So I guess this one is happening. When the demonic followers of Mars Bali saw that their master, who had been determined in performing sacrifice, had lost all his possessions to Vamanadeva, who had taken them away on the plea of begging 3 paces of land, they were very angry and spoke as following. So they're complaining of he's working for the interests of the demigods. So therefore it is, once on a few verses, therefore it is our duty to kill this Vamanadeva by Vishnu. It is our religious principle and the way to serve our master. After making this decision, the demoniac followers of Maharaj Bali took up their various weapons with a view of killing Vamanadeva. O King, the demons, aggravated by their usual anger, took their lances and tridents in hand, and against the will of Bali Maharaj, they pushed forward to kill Lord Vamanadeva. So, King, when the associates of Lord Vishnu saw the soldiers of the demons coming forward in violence, they smiled. Taking up their weapons, they forbade the demons to continue their attempt. So now, needless to say, they won. They started fighting and they won. When Bali Maharaj saw that his own soldiers were being killed by the associates of Lord Vishnu, he remembered the curse of Sukracharya and forbade the soldiers to continue fighting. So it stops. He goes on. Previously, being empowered by Providence, you defeated a great number of such followers of Lord Vishnu, but today these same followers have defeated us, are roaring in jubilation like lions. So he's saying that this is a bad time to fight. He's reasoning with them. He's saying this is a bad time to fight. So another day will be more favorable. So thereafter, okay, so the Sukadeva Goswami continued, O King, in accordance with the order of their master Bali Maharaj, all the chiefs of the demons and the Daityas entered the lower regions of the universe to which they were driven by the soldiers of Vishnu. Thereafter, on the day of Somapana, after the sacrifice was finished, Garuda, king of birds, understanding the desire of his master, arrested Bali Maharaj with the ropes of Varuna. When Bali Maharaj was thus arrested by Lord Vishnu, who is the most powerful. There was a great war of lamentation in all directions throughout the upper and lower planetary systems of the universe. O King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Brahmanadev then spoke to Bali Maharaj, the most liberal and celebrated personality, whom he had arrested with the ropes of Varuna. Bali Maharaj had lost all bodily luster, but he was nonetheless fixed in his determination. O King of the demons, you have promised to give me 3 steps of land, but I have occupied the entire universe with 2 steps. Now, think about where I should put my 3rd. As far as the sun and moon shine, with the stars, and far as the clouds pouring, all the land throughout the universe is in your possession. Of these possessions, with 1 step I have occupied Goloka, and with my body I have occupied the entire sky in all directions. And in your presence, with my 2nd step, I have occupied the upper planetary systems. Because you've been unable to give charity according to your promise, the rule is that you should go down to live in the hellish planets. Therefore, in accordance with the order of Sukacharya, your spiritual master, now go down and live there. Far from being elevated to the heavenly planets or fulfilling one's desire, one who does not properly give a beggar what he has promised falls down to a hellish condition of life. Being falsely proud of your possessions, you promised to give me land, but you could not fulfill your promise. Therefore, because your promise was false, you must live for a few years in hellish life. Dun, dun, dun. So it seems so unfair, right? Shukadeva Goswami said, O King, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead was superficially seen to have acted mischievously toward Bali Maharaj was fixed in his determination. Considering himself not to have fulfilled his promise, he spoke as follows. Bali Maharaj said, O best Personality of Godhead, most worshipable for all the demigods, if you think that my promise has become false, I shall certainly rectify matters to make it truthful. I cannot allow my promise to be false. Please therefore place your 3rd lotus footstep on my head. I do not fear being deprived of all my possessions, living in hellish life, being arrested for poverty by the ropes of Varuna, or being punished by you as much as I fear defamation. Although a father, mother, brother, or friend may sometimes punish one as a well-wisher, they never punish their subordinates like this. He's pointing out that this is based, according to the normal, this is unfair. But because you are the most worshipable Lord, I regard the punishment you have given me as most exalted. So he's got spiritual vision. Since your lordship is indirectly the greatest well-wisher of us demons, you act for our best welfare by posing as if our enemy. Because demons like us always aspire for a position of false prestige. By chastising us, you give us the eyes by which to see the right path. Let's see. Many demons who were continuously inimical toward you finally achieved the perfection of great mystic yogis. Your lordship can perform one work to serve many purposes. And consequently, although you have punished me in many ways, I do not feel ashamed of having been arrested by the ropes of Varuna, nor do I feel aggrieved. My grandfather Prahlad Maharaj is famous, being recognized by all your devotees. Although harassed in many ways by his father Hiranyakashipu, he still remained faithful, taking shelter at your lotus feet. What is the use of the material body, which automatically leaves its owner at the end of life? And what is the use of all one's family members, who are actually plunderers, taking away money that is useful for the service of the Lord and spiritual opulence? What is the use of a wife? She is only the source of increasing material conditions. And what is the use of family, home, country, and community? Attachment for them merely wastes the valuable energy of one's lifetime. My grandfather, the best of all men, who achieved unlimited knowledge and was worshipable for everyone, was afraid of the common men in this world, being fully convinced of the substantiality offered by shelter at your lotus feet. He took shelter of your lotus feet, against the will of his father and demonic friends who were killed by your own self. Only by providence have I forcibly been brought under your lotus feet and deprived of all my opulence. Because of the illusion created by temporary opulence, people in general who live under material conditions, facing accidental death at every moment, do not understand that this life is temporary. Only by providence have I been saved from this condition. It goes up. Prahlad Maharaj appears next. Interesting, Prahlad Maharaj, whose dark body resembled black light for the eyes. His tall, elegant figure was dressed in yellow garments. He had long arms, and his beautiful eyes were like the petals of a lotus. I wonder if Prahlad has appeared in his transcendental body that, like Lord Vishnu, has achieved the form of Lord Vishnu. They didn't describe him like this before. So in other words, I have to sum up because time is up. That Bali Maharaj totally accepted as Krishna's mercy this extraordinary degree of punishment that was beyond the normal kind of punishment. That he had given everything, given up everything, and given his head, and still he got arrested. And so, but he accepted it as purification. Now, sometimes we get punished twice for something. Once wouldn't be enough. So we have both hellish punishment and we have karma in this world. So we have after death we have to go temporarily to some hellish punishment for our sins, and then we give birth and we're given birth in a new body, and then we have to experience the karma for it. So we might, if we only had one punishment equal, we might just say, well, this is a fair business deal. I had my enjoyment, I got my punishment, now let me do it again. But we get it twice, so it helps purify. The idea is to purify. The idea is not to do fair business. So Lord Vamanadev is going beyond the call of fair business. And Bali Maharaj had taken over the universe, now he's given it up. So beyond that, he's getting punished again. So it's purifying him, and Bali Maharaj understands this, that he's getting purified. So he accepts it as Lord Krishna's mercy, which is another lesson for us.
Actually, Bhumi wanted him arrested because he lied. Bhumi can't stand someone lying.
I don't remember reading that in here. Is that somewhere else?
Somewhere.
Because I was reading these chapters. I didn't see that because I speed read over it, but I was reading them and I didn't see that.
Whether he lied
Because it's just that he didn't purposely lie, but he couldn't fulfill the order.
Yeah, but then he did fulfill the order.
Yeah, he does, but before he does, he gets arrested.
I wonder if I skipped that one. I don't remember.
maybe it's in the third book.
Anyway, okay, but that would be still, the Lord is not like the menial servant of anybody, even Bhumi. He has a plan. If he does what somebody asks, it's because it's his plan. So he has a plan, so he just inspires somebody to ask this thing so he can do it. Whatever. So I don't actually remember reading that, but anyway, so I take it the word that it's there. But it would still be Vamanadev's own plan. It's not Lord Vamanadev, is Lord Vishnu, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's in charge of whatever he does. It's not ever manipulated by anybody else. So, anyways, then actually, where is it? See if I can remember. I don't know how many verses ahead. Bali Maharaj was given residence in a Vaikuntha planet or heavenly planet. I think he was going to give residence in a heavenly planet, but at a certain time. There wasn't time yet. So between then, he went to a subterranean heavenly planet, and totally protected, and a very desirable place, totally protected by Lord Vishnu, Lord Vamanadev. So he was taken care of from then on. But first he had to go through this purification, and it said his face lost its luster. He got pale, but he kept his determination. It's one thing to say in theory that I'll give you all my land, and even if I get punished for not, if you take 2 footsteps and then you punish me because I can't give you a third, I'll do it. It's one thing to say that, and then it really happens. His face turned pale, but he was fixed in his determination. He didn't lose his equilibrium, and he knew what his purpose was, and he knew what the Lord's purpose was, and he was fixed. So we can learn lots of lessons from this. It's a fascinating story. Contrasting high material philosophy and true spiritual philosophy, and showing different kinds of devotees and different kinds of demons, and it's a very instructive story. So hand. That's pretty.
Yeah, well, my understanding is he's residing presently in this planet. I think it's called Talavana, where the lot is, and they live a very uplifting life. And I believe Krishna is there too. But then the next,
it's the doors,
and then the next Indra will be Bali.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That sounds like isn't this where, I don't remember this specifically either, but I remember it previously. Isn't Bali Maharaj the one who's Vamanadev is his doorkeeper, which is very nice because he's protecting him. At the same time, he's also keeping Bali Maharaj from coming out of that planet and taking over the universe again. Because that's what demons are supposed to do. They're supposed to fight the demigods. So even though Bali Maharaj was such a great devotee, and in line of Prahlad Maharaj, a pure devotee of the Lord, they're in the demon family, and he had conquered the universe, and the demigods were supposed to be in charge, and they weren't. But Bali Maharaj was. So this dynamic goes on anyway. So Bali Maharaj is guarded by Vamanadev.
And Vishnu, the doorkeeper there in the form of Vamanadev?
That's what I think I remember. Anybody remember different? The Vamanadev was with him, but he was the doorkeeper.
And it was only 5,000 years ago, 100 maybe, but when Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, when Krishna, I think which is Krishna, I don't know if Balaram is with him, when he went to get the sons back that were murdered by Kamsa on Devaki's request, he went to Bali Maharaj's kingdom to get them. Somehow they were sent there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he's still waiting. Interesting. Thanks. Anything else? Yeah.
What comes to my mind was you have the different processes of devotional service, Slavana, Kirtan, Vishnu, Slavana. The last one is Atmanidam, where you're surrendering everything to Krishna, and what has been said, I think Prabhupada is explaining that Bali Maharaj is the person chosen for that particular service. And also I remember reading about Bali Maharaj that Vishnu, he gave him his Sudarshan chakra, and he also got Prahlad Maharaj to come down to that region to be with him.
Vamanadev gave Bali Maharaj the Sudarshan chakra. It says that? This is a one. I don't know about that.
Also, once when Krishna Maharaj was here, he said that, I can't remember if it was Bali Maharaj's daughter or his wife, that became disturbed when he was bound by the rope